Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to have many different saga-wide implications in this movie by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one great thing about this movie is that a lot of fans are truly looking forward to a number of characters, that of course being especially the legacy characters like Luke Skywalker, Leia and Lando Calrissian, and even Han Solo, and exactly what J.J. and Chris are going to do with those characters in this movie. But best of all, of course, I think is that a lot of fans are really curious about what's going to happen with the character of Luke Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 9, both in the form of a Force Ghost, and of course in the form of flashbacks. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the set leaks, this is where things begin to get very interesting. That leads to one of the big points that could very well be Luke Skywalker being resurrected in Star Wars Episode 9. Now, specifically, it's described that Mark Hamill shot a sequence during the month of January, where it said that over at Cardington, where it's described that he was walking closer to Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley, in front of a green screen. It's described that Hamill was dressed in his ceremonial robes, where the sequence was described as Luke's transition. The sequence that was shot involved Adam Driver as Kylo Ren in a phase of rage, about to strike down and kill Rey, while she is on the ground and defenseless, where it said that Hamill acted in a way of performing a Force pull, where he eventually uses the Force to take away Kylo's lightsaber hilt to save Rey. It's described that the sequence during post-production will involve the Force Ghost of Luke Skywalker shifting from the traditional blue hue and transparency to Luke appearing as if he is flesh and blood and solid, as he Force pulls Kylo's lightsaber into his hand. Additionally, it said that Hamill was wearing the iconic green lightsaber hilt on his belt. So I really want to go over a couple of parts about this. Now, we've heard about this a couple of times before in the past, about one of the big sequences involving Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, pretty much, shifting from the Force Ghost of Luke into a more solid version of Luke Skywalker, indicating that this is Luke resurrecting. Now, we do know that in Episode 9, there are going to be multiple meanings as to the Rise of Skywalker. We actually learned just yesterday that there's going to be over 3 different meanings of the title itself, and one of the meanings could absolutely have to do with this sequence in particular, that involves the character of Luke Skywalker exiting the netherworld of the Force quite literally, and becoming solid once again. In fact, in case you guys did not know, in Legends material, there was a power that Luke Skywalker was able to do in order to go back and forth between the netherworld. So one thing that we do know about Episode 9 is that J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio are using a lot of expanded universe material in order to use that as inspiration to tell a very unique and original story in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. So what I find so very intriguing about this particular scene, though, is that it's a sequence in which Luke Skywalker intervenes pretty much this battle between both Rey and Kylo Ren, where Rey has essentially lost the battle against Kylo Ren, where Kylo is about to strike her down and kill her because she's now defenseless, she's on the ground. It's probably most likely Rey is hurt, because we do know that she gets an injury in this movie at a certain point in time in the film. Nothing too serious, nothing like losing a limb or anything like that, but an injury to a certain extent that's going to cause her to pretty much, be down on the ground, and that fits directly in line with this sequence. So this leads to another scene in which Mark Hamill had to act in a way of using the Force pull technique and grabbing Kylo Ren's lightsaber hilt, where also on Luke Skywalker's belt, he had the traditional green lightsaber hilt that we saw in, of course, The Return of the Jedi, as well as The Last Jedi. So what's really exciting to me about this sequence is that not only does it take place within the third act of the movie, but it also makes one wonder, is this how the whole entire scene transitions from, of course, Kylo Ren fighting Rey, to, of course, both Rey and Kylo Ren fighting the new villain in Star Wars Episode 9 that is likely to be portrayed by Matt Smith. So Luke Skywalker going from the traditional blue hue and transparency to a more solid form as if he is flesh and blood is directly taken from the original script of Return of the Jedi. In case you guys did not know, originally George Lucas had this idea of bringing Luke Skywalker, or should I say, bringing Obi-Wan Kenobi back to life in front of Luke Skywalker on Endor, during the Endor celebration, in order to pretty much, have the full advantage within the mortal world, in order to save Rey. So we do know that, starting off with Rian Johnson, he brought in the idea of Force Ghosts having these different powers, where Yoda was able to manipulate the mortal world, controlling the weather, controlling the lightning, and hitting the tree. Now, JJ is taking it to the next level with the character of Luke Skywalker, where this is very, much a big hint that he's going to be able to willfully pretty much rise himself, pretty much resurrect himself from the dead and come back to life, at least temporarily. Do I think that Luke is going to come back to life permanently? I really don't think so. In fact, I think that's a very slim chance. I think that this is just a power that maybe he can use once, at the most maybe, or maybe even twice, who knows. But anyways, guys, I would love to hear what you have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.